Okay, as has been mentioned, today is our chance to go over our emergency action plan, and I'm the guy that has the misfortune of bringing all these difficult things up to your attention. It's not stuff we like to think about, but things that are nonetheless important to discuss and be aware of. This is just kind of some reference material, sources. If you need any of that information, let me know afterwards. It is important to say that this is not a spiritual talk. This is a secular discussion. It's going to be an opportunity for us to think about how we can protect ourselves and others. And we encourage everyone here to think about this, enter this topic with prayer, with a good conscience, with a sound mind, and make sure that you make your own decisions about what you need to do with regard to this plan. As we talk about preparation, that's really what this is all about. I just want you to consider that preparation is one of the most important variables in life, in just about every situation. If you're prepared, things will go better in every area of life than they will if you're not prepared. That's true in spiritual things and in physical things like we're talking about now. So I just want to encourage you to take an inventory and ask yourself how much of your safety depends on others, and then what are you prepared to do personally to keep people safe, to keep yourself and others safe? That's the divide. Some of us live a life and say, well, it's somebody else's job, they'll do it. And some of us are looking at, well, I have a role in this too, and where do I want to draw those lines? So I hope that'll be like a tool for you to figure out what you want to do. What should we do to plan ahead? That's really the main topic here. The idea of threat assessment is central to this discussion. I would encourage everybody here to notice things, to assess those things, those threats, and to decide if there's something that needs to be acted upon. If you don't notice, if you're just oblivious, then you don't see anything and you just figure it's somebody else's job. If you recognize it as your job, you'll look around, you'll see what's going on, and you'll try to understand if you need to prepare yourself. What are we looking for? And I threw a couple of items up here. Some of these are pretty obvious. We're ticking time bombs. Some of them are not as much. A vehicle you've never seen before, a vehicle acting in a strange way, a person that's doing something that you haven't seen them do before. And here's a couple of, or maybe I should say a list of things that we can look at and see if they're out of the ordinary, things we should always be observant about, as the way that people behave, the way that the building looks, the way that the property is. You know what it should look like when you get here. And if you're paying attention, you will also possess the ability to know when something is out of place with somebody or something. And that's really the most important part of this. Use your historical knowledge of what you have seen to understand what's out of the ordinary. Bottom line, people aren't wired to plan evil without giving off signals. Most people, aside from the sociopaths and the psychopaths, will give hints through their actions, through their behaviors that something's going on, and you are capable of seeing that if you're paying attention. 75% of public place attackers have caused concern in the people around before the attack, but that normalcy bias made them say, probably nothing, just ignore this, I'll just go about my life as is. And then after the fact, when a terrible thing happened, they said, I saw something and I didn't do anything about it. I didn't recognize the signs that I was seeing. So don't be easy prey. That's really what this is about. You picture a little bunny rabbit eating the grass, doesn't know the world around him, he just knows about the blade of grass. And we want to encourage everybody not to be that. Get your head up, look around and see what's going on. And deny people easy access to you to treat you like a victim. Deliberate or plan and decide what you're going to do ahead of time so that when the time comes to act, you can act decisively without having to figure out in that moment what's going to happen. We all recognize that we do much better if we know ahead of time how we're going to behave when a situation unfolds. Script and practice, anticipate your own personal weaknesses, and then share information with the security people around you and obviously with authorities if it's appropriate to do so. Some simple things that you've probably heard just about everywhere that you can do to harden targets. Lock the doors, make sure the doors close behind you at the building, lock the doors to your cars, don't block the exits, know where your children are, it's a big one. You can harden those soft targets of your children just by having track of them, knowing where they're at. Don't let them be out there somewhere by themselves where they can't be protected. Notice those who come and go. Notice disconcerting persons. And this is an important here. Don't share or post property access information. Everybody likes to post things, but don't give people hints about how to get to us here or where you are with your posts.
Every group should have a list of see something, say something contacts.
Make sure you make note of those names. Make sure you tell the right people. If you see something terrible and you tell the wrong person, it's probably not going to help. They're going to say, yeah, that's terrible. And then they're going to go about their business. If you tell the right person, then we can get a solution working on that. The idea of making a plan is something that should extend to your family. I would encourage every individual and every head of household to plan with their family. Make sure that everybody knows their roles, know what they should be doing, know where you would go if something happens here in the building and you need to evacuate. Have a muster point where you're going to meet up. Have a plan and let each member of your family know what that's going to look like so that everybody can get out okay. If you don't know the building layout, we're going to go through that here. I hope you can kind of walk through this tour mentally with me. You're sitting in that room right beside the green star right now. You probably came in this door from your Lambo out there in the parking lot. And if you're in a classroom, you need to understand those windows are exits as well. So be thinking about that. Always know 2 ways out of the room that you're in. So that's kind of the pre-planning stuff. Now we're going to jump into the what happens when it's all going down, the execution of the emergency plan in the midst of an attack. So run, hide, fight is something you've heard here before. It's something you've probably heard from if you're at a school or if you're in a corporation. This is a common concept to pick one of these 3 things or use a combination thereof. This is what's going to help you in an emergency, and know what your plan is. Not everybody is ready to hide or fight. Some people are going to run. The fight or flight reflex is run is right there in the middle of that. So maybe you're someone who knows your best bet is to get away. Well, that should be your plan. Plan where you're going to go, plan how you're going to get out, plan how you're going to escape, and hopefully plan to help others as well on the way out. Maybe some are going to freeze with anxiety or terror. Be ready to help those people that are around you or those that might have needs around you as well as you run and escape. Getting people away from the attacker is the best scenario. Calling 911 is super important to do that as early as possible. Don't try to take all your worldly belongings with you. They're not going to help you when it comes to escaping. So just get out, whether anybody else is getting out or not. You leave, you go. If run is your plan, then make sure you run and escape and get as far away as possible. Get out. If you're planning on hiding, maybe run is your first plan, but maybe it turns into hiding because you can't go as far as you want. Have an idea where you're going to hide, and have an idea what that's going to look like. Obviously, the furthest away from the attacker, the best, but make sure you have concepts within the building, within the parking lot, within your vehicle, etc., as to where you might hide if there was an attack here. Make sure you turn off your electronic devices or silence them so they don't vibrate. Everybody's seen, the bad movies where like a phone is sitting there going, and the bad guy's looking. So make sure that doesn't happen to you. Set that thing so that it's quiet and you don't give away your position if you're trying to hide. Don't hide in groups. Spread out along walls. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. Make yourself more difficult to attack. Closing, locking, barricading is important. Understand concealment versus cover. Do not lay still and play dead, as that does not deny an attacker access to you. And attackers have been known for checking on people that are laying still to see if they are still capable of being victimized or not. So make sure that you get out and get away and hide in a safe place. 911, like we said, you can call, you can use your text. Most everybody understands how to use their emergency features on their iPhone. And make sure you stay calm. If you don't have a phone, write a note and stick it in a window so that if somebody's driving by and authority is coming by and it looks quiet, they see that sign in the window and know that something's going on in the building. And then fight. It's the third on the list, but it could be your last option, or it might be what you choose to do first, according to your plan. Fight requires quickly assessing the situation for deadly or felonious threats. In the state of Florida, if somebody is trying to kill you or trying to commit a felony against you, you can defend yourself. And making that assessment quickly and immediately is paramount, because you don't want to fight everybody. You don't want to fight a guy that's asking a question, obviously. You want to fight a real threat who's trying to hurt you. So you have to be able to assess that quickly and use the appropriate crippling or incapacitating or deadly force to stop that attack. Extreme force is used to stop an attacker can involve employing any available weapon. So if fight is your plan, you should understand how you can use a gun, a knife, a chair, a cane, a fire extinguisher, a stick, a rock, book, dirt, sand, chemicals, pencil, pen, etc., to fight and to protect yourself. Maybe you aren't prepared with a weapon, but maybe you're going to look at the chair you're sitting and realize it could be used to stop an attacker. Make that part of your plan. Target vulnerable areas, head, eyes, knees, shin, neck, groin, etc., and adjust tactics based on the weapons and conditions. Obviously, if a guy's got a gun, you're not going to face off with him with a pencil or a pen. So make decisions based on what's going on in the moment, how you're going to behave. Recruit others to ambush the shooter if that opportunity presents itself. Assign tasks before attacking. So planning, again, if you're hiding in a room and somebody is coming in that room to hurt a group of people, one person's going to get the face, one person's going to get the body, one person's going to hold the fire extinguisher, etc., and go at that with a plan rather than just sitting there saying, oh, hey, welcome to the room full of victims. Commit to your actions and act decisively. If you're familiar with the 9/11 United Flight 93, then you probably are familiar with the term let's roll, or the phrase let's roll. And it represents just that prepared resolve to go and stop somebody from turning you into a victim. Be confident based on preparation. So if you don't believe fighting is okay, then don't plan to do that. If you think that you're justified before God in fighting and protecting yourself, then incorporate that into your plan. But that's a decision you have to make personally. Nobody here is telling you what you have to do on that front. Be mentally tough. Understand what can happen if you don't act. So understand that not fighting could mean that you or others turn into victims. Misdirect an attacker to allow others to escape or counterattacks to happen, and then never give up until you and others are safe. So once you start fighting, you got to finish it. It's not something you just say, oops, bad idea. You're going to have to see it through. Just kind of, post-attack here, think about, mentally what you would have to do in that situation. Caring for the wounded is first priority. Obviously, caring for yourself, I should say, is first priority, and then others that might be wounded. If the injured are in danger, if the attack is still underway, consider whether you can remove them from that danger without getting yourself hurt. And then, learn basic first aid. If you don't know what to do and how to apply direct pressure, how to use tourniquets, turning people on their side if they're unconscious so that they won't choke and asphyxiate themselves. Those are all things that are good for us to understand, but not part of this training per se. Following an active shooter event, law enforcement will arrive. Adrenaline excitement will be high for everyone. Nerves are going to be frayed, and you can't take the tension, no matter how much training you've got, no matter how much planning you've made. You can't take the tension out of that situation. Everybody's going to be feeling it, and it's a moment for great concern and great care. And it's important that you plan to behave safely if that does happen. Just to give you an idea of what law enforcement's priorities are, when they first get here, they're not the paramedics. The goal is to stop the killing, first of all, neutralize whoever's doing the attacking, stop the dying next after that first threat is neutralized, and then evacuate the injured along the way if that's possible. And so if you're hurt, you may not be the first priority for law enforcement. They need to figure out what's causing the killing and stop that first. Officers will most likely be armed with long guns. They may use chemicals to try to secure the situation. Officers are almost certainly going to shout commands, and it's not a time for a discussion. It's not like, are you sure that you have the right to tell me? No, you just get down. If they say get down, they say move this way, you do it. You comply, and you let them do their job because they're trained better than we are. Your priorities as a civilian: keep your hands visible and empty. If you have a weapon, it should be stowed or dropped, especially if the police show up and say, drop your weapon. Don't explain to them why you have it or who you are initially. Just drop it. Then you can talk about it later on after everything's calmed down. Follow law enforcement instructions and evacuate in the direction they come from, because chances are they came from a safer direction than where they're headed. Quick recap: be aware, be prepared, make targets harder to attack. If you see something, say something or do something. Keep exits unhindered, as Clint has done a wonderful job of mentioning over the last month. And understand your role when it comes to run, hide, or fight. And so the question I'll leave you with is, what are you prepared to do? If you think you should be prepared to do more, then it's your job to get prepared and make a plan. I appreciate your time.